All right, let's get right into it. We're constantly talking about preparing our kids for the 21st century, right? But here's a thought. What if the way we're preparing our teachers is actually still stuck in the 20th? Today, we are diving into a huge gap in education, this massive chasm between what teachers learn in their training and what the real modern classroom throws at them every single day.
And this quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? You can fill up all the notebooks in the world with theories and best practices. But that moment, a teacher is standing in a room full of actual students, well, that's a whole different ballgame. It's not just about teaching a subject. It's about connecting with people, It's about psychology and navigating this incredibly complex human landscape that no textbook can ever fully prepare you for.
So to really get a feel for this gap, let's go right to the beginning, to that moment where it becomes painfully obvious for so many teachers their first real day on the job. And this isn't just some hypothetical story. This is drawn from actual experience.
I want you to picture this. It's a training room in Morocco about a decade ago. It's absolutely packed with brand new teachers, and they are hopeful. They're eager. Their notebooks are open, pens at the ready. They're there to learn the rules of the game, to finally get the instruction manual for one of the most important jobs on the planet. They are completely ready to be taught how to teach.
And well, the training gives them pretty much what you'd expect. You know the drill. The slides are dense with academic theory. We're talking Bloom's taxonomy, various models for assessment, super specific templates for lesson plans. It's all very neat, very structured. The whole thing kind of presents teaching as a science, like a series of steps that, if you just follow them perfectly, will give you a predictable outcome.
But then, that first day in the classroom happens, and all those beautiful theories, all those neat and tidy templates, they just completely collide with the messy, loud, unpredictable, and deeply human reality of a classroom. All that preparation suddenly feels like it's a million miles away when you're facing down 38 unique teenagers, every single one with their own personality, their own motivations, their own stuff going on.
So you have to ask, where does this kind of training even come from? Well, turns out it was designed for a totally different world. Let's take a look at the 20th century blueprint that, believe it or not, still forms the foundation for how we train so many teachers today.
Back then, the teacher's role was, it was pretty clear-cut. They were the sage on the stage. They held all the knowledge, which was seen as stable and unchanging. Their job was basically to transmit that knowledge, keep the class in line so they'd receive it, and then test everyone to see if they memorized it. In a world where information was hard to come by, the teacher was the main source. Simple as that.
Okay, now let's hit the fast-forward button to today. Because that world is long gone. Information is everywhere. It's not scarce at all, and the job of being a teacher, it has just exploded in complexity. And here's the shift. It's massive. Today, a teacher isn't just delivering content anymore. They're a facilitator, a coach, a tech guru, a part-time psychologist, a mentor. They're supposed to build these deep emotional connections, personalized learning for 30-plus kids at the same time, and somehow navigate incredibly complex social dynamics, all while juggling a mountain of paperwork. The job description hasn't just been updated, it has been fundamentally rewritten. So when a teacher feels completely overwhelmed, it's so easy for them, and for us, to see it as some kind of personal failure. But the source material makes a really powerful argument. It's not. It is a systemic issue, a huge structural mismatch between the training they get and the job we actually need them to do.
And this is the key phrase right here, structural mismatch. It's not saying the old skills are bad or useless. It's just that a whole new universe of demands has been piled on top, and our training systems, they just haven't kept up. We're essentially training people for one job and then throwing them into a completely different, way more difficult one, and wondering why they're struggling.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at each row. We prepared them to deliver fixed content. Now they have to facilitate critical thinking. We train them for managing compliance. Now we need them to build intrinsic motivation. Every single one of these shifts isn't just about learning a new task. It's a fundamental change in what it means to be a teacher. We are asking them to become a totally different kind of professional, often without even giving them the language or the support for that transformation. And just when you thought that gap couldn't possibly get any wider, it's about to get supercharged by the biggest disruptor of all, artificial intelligence. This isn't just stretching the mismatch, it's changing the very questions we should be asking about what teaching even is. I mean, really let this question sink in. If an AI can give a student a perfectly tailored, endlessly patient, crystal clear explanation of photosynthesis or the Pythagorean theorem, what is the teacher in that room fundamentally for?
What is the uniquely human value that they and only they can bring?
And listen, this is not science fiction. This isn't some 10 years from now problem. AI is here. It is in the classroom right now. It's writing essays for students. It's answering their homework questions in an instant. It is even generating entire lesson plans for teachers. It's an active player in education as we speak, whether our systems are ready to deal with it or not.
So what are we supposed to do? You know, the typical answer is just more training. Let's throw another workshop at the problem. But the source argues that this completely misses the point. This isn't just about a skills gap, it's something way, way deeper.
Just look at this contrast. The knee-jerk reaction from institutions is, here, learn this new technique. But that's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. The much deeper problem here is a crisis of professional identity. If the thing you thought was your core job, delivering knowledge, can now be done by an algorithm, then who are you? Why do you matter in that classroom? Another teaching strategy can't answer that question.
And that brings us to the core message. The single most important thing we can do right now is to stop acting like this is about individual teachers not being good enough. We have to call this gap what it is, a structural reality that's been growing for years and is now hitting warp speed because of technology.
Because at the end of the day, you can't fix a problem you won't even admit exists. We have to be brutally honest about the profound change that has happened to one of our most essential professions. So the final question is really for all of us. Are we finally ready to look at this gap, to see it clearly, and to start the real work of building a bridge? A bridge that's made of new kinds of training, real support, and a completely reimagined, deeply human purpose for the 21st century teacher.